Hello and welcome back. It is now the 2025 season and I am out here. It is March 24th and we're having some pretty nice weather today, although it's a little cloudy and gloomy at the moment here. It's about 16 degrees air temperature, sometimes up to 20 when the sun comes out. So very nice, especially compared to last week where we were still sub-zero, especially at night. So let's take a look and see what we're finding. So I'm out here taking a look at some fall rye here right now. I can get down about 8 inches or so with my little shovel here. I did actually find a worm down at that depth, which means that subsoil is starting to warm up, but still a little too cool for planting. We're about 2.2 degrees Celsius on my gauge here, and that's only about 4 inches deep. It's a little bit warmer on the surface, but that temperature at the surface is going to fluctuate quite a bit as the sun comes up and down and we get colder temperatures at night. For the most part right now, all I'm doing is I'm just checking some winter wheat and fall rye. So this is a fall rye field. I'm basically just checking to see if there's any big patches of winter kill, what caused it if there is, and whether there's any issues with cutworms or anything along those lines. So you can see right here, this is where a barley swath was laying last year, and we had a huge amount of volunteer barley emerge here. So that somewhat suppresses the rye a little bit, but it also gives us a really good habitat for cutworms to survive in. I kind of doubt we're going to see anything here right now. I think the soil temperature and the air temperature just is not quite warm enough for them to be active yet. But you never know with our Chinook conditions, so I'm just kind of digging around this week, just making sure we don't have any problems. In this spot here, right by pivot point in this fall rye, we have what appears to be a spot of winter kill. Looks to me like we probably had some moisture or some water sitting here, just based on the way that the straw is laying and the surface is very flat and even. Looks like we probably had a little bit of a puddle here at some point, but even with that, we do still have some rye poking through here and there. It's just going to be quite thin compared to the rest of the field and definitely behind. Soil temperature in this field as well is about 2.9 degrees at 2 inches depth, so still a little bit cool, no doubt because of how much cover there is here. Here in this canola stubble we have way less trash which is shadowing the surface, so technically our soil temperatures should warm up and cool down faster. And you can really see that today, even though air temperature is still relatively cool and the sun isn't really out. We are at 7 degrees Celsius at 2 inches depth. And when I just stick this probe down a little bit deeper and I get down to 4, 5, 6 inches, then the temperature is dropping quite a bit and we're down to basically 3 degrees. So still a little bit on the cool side of that depth, but surface temperatures in fields like this are rapidly coming along. Still a few patches of snow here and there once you get up into the hills, so definitely soil temperature up here is not quite as warm. Here we have a winter wheat field south of Lethbridge. Everything here is looking pretty good. Now this field did get off to a relatively slow start. It is on canola stubble and it was very, very dry in the fall, so it did get off to a slow start. But nonetheless, it seems like we have a pretty good stand here. We got some pretty nice looking seed rows, but you can see it is quite a bit smaller, less vigorous than some of the fall rye. But I think if this weather keeps up, it'll catch up pretty quick. Here in this winter wheat field, which is canola stubble, you can see we actually do have some overwintering canola. You can see it's not in great health, but probably good enough. I bet you this one is going to pull through. Luckily, canola isn't terribly hard to control in wheat. Most group 4s are going to control it pretty well. You can see there's a smaller one here. Here looks like we have a little bit of shepherd's purse, so there is definitely some winter annuals in here as well. This winter wheat field is doing pretty good, but it does have a few winter annual weeds in here, including this flicksweed. Now, this flicksweed is still relatively small. It's about 2 inches wide from side to side, but as conditions get better, it's going to grow pretty rapidly. There's also some shepherd's purse and stinkweed out here, as well as volunteer canola, so got to start watching for those winter annuals. This field here is typically the first place I find kochia every year. I'm on a little bit of a south exposure here, relatively sandy ground, and this is canola stubble. You can see we got some kochia skeletons here, and actually, you know what? There is right there, very, very small. Let me get my pointing knife out here. Right there, little tiny kochias. So there is a couple here, still very, very small, very purple, but it looks like that temperature is high enough for things to germinate. So let's take a look, see what soil temperature is in this spot here. Okay, so surface temperature are about 8.7, 8.5. Scrape down to 2 inches or so here. 3.7 down there, so 3.1. So definitely coming up, getting that warmth as we get later into the week. Although it sounds like tomorrow we might get snow. Here in this sandy patch of soil on a hillside, we got quite a good stand of kochia starting to emerge already. It doesn't look like it even from standing height here because they're still all very purple, cold stressed, and small. But you can see how many of them there is here. Pretty good mat of them coming up. But right now these leaves are only really about 1 millimeter long. They're still very, very small, which means it would be an extremely difficult target to hit with any sort of pre-burn. But just goes to show you, even if you're seeding this early, don't skip your pre-burn, because this would be a thick patch of kochia in a couple weeks. Here in this barley stubble from last year, you can see we got a pretty good stand of fall or post-harvest emerged kochia, and including we got a bunch of new germination coming up here as the soil temperature improves. So this field is going to get seeded in the next couple weeks into yellow peas. So we're going to come in here and we're going to hit this with Authority Supreme. We can pretty much do this from any time up from now till seeding, and it'll give us great residual kochia control. Well, it does look like there might be some weather blowing in from the northwest now, so we'll see what it's going to do. Apologies for the noise. I forgot my windproof mic at home, so no luck with that today. But it's definitely cooling down out here. There's some weather blowing in from the northwest. So that is going to be it for this week. Not a whole lot going on. I think next week forecast is pretty cool, so maybe we'll see you then.